Welcome back to the Rad City Design Studio. Today, we're breaking hearts and making jewelry. Let's get started. First things first, I added some chrome flakes directly to my silicone pad using an old makeup brush. You can play around with colors, textures, whatever you want for this part. You could even use some fine glitter. But I really liked the way these chrome flakes looked. They're very opalescent. And I paired them with a little bit of duo chrome powder on top. Again, I'm just looking for some different variations in color and texture. I just want to be inspired by the colors. Next, I used the tip of my UV resin bottle to draw out a heart. You could also do this with a paintbrush or a dotting tool if that would work better for you. You could even use a bezel instead of trying to freehand, but I wanted to do something a little bit more organic, so this is the route I went. Now, either way, you want to make sure that you move very quickly before the resin bleeds out from however you drew it. As soon as I drew this heart, I immediately turned my UV lamp on and cured this for about 1 full minute. Once cured, I turned this piece over and coated the back side in another layer of resin. I used a thin paintbrush to smooth this out, edge to edge, and then I cured the piece again. I repeated this process 2 more times, coating each side, then flipping, building up the piece to make sure that it was solid and sturdy. I didn't want it to chip apart or anything along those lines. Once I was happy with the thickness, I used a nail file to smooth the edges and get rid of any weird bumps or any misshaped areas. This created such a cute little charm. I ended up adding it to a beaded memory wire bracelet, and I just used a small jump ring to attach it. I love how it almost looks like dichroic glass. If you've ever seen that kind of glass, it almost looks like it has foil inside of it, and this kind of gives that same effect. The textures and the colors play in the light in such a cool way. I love it so much. Now, I still had quite a bit of color left on my silicone pad. That's one of the reasons why I like this technique, because you can get a lot out of just a very small amount of product. So I decided that I was going to make a few rings as well. Now, I started by pouring a dollop of resin onto the silicone pad. Next, I created 2 dots of resin relatively close to each other, but far enough away that they weren't going to spill into each other. Then, using the dotting tool, I dragged them both to a point, creating a solid heart. I repeated this process, creating several hearts in various sizes, and then cured each one of them for about 1 minute. Once they cured, I peeled them away from the silicone pad, and then I placed them on a piece of cellophane tape, shiny side down, so that the part that was originally touching the pad was now facing up. I added a small amount of resin to each of the hearts, once again smoothing it out edge to edge, and then I cured. Just like before, I repeated the process twice more, adding layers and curing until they felt sturdy. Now, I accidentally hit one of the hearts with my light and caused a little tail to form, so I snipped that away using my flush cutters, and then I just smoothed it down using a nail file. I coated it with another layer of resin to add back the shine, and then I cured it. Now, I knew I wanted to turn the larger heart of this set into a ring, so I wrapped some 18 gauge craft wire around a round marker, roughly about the size of my finger, and then I made sure that it wrapped around twice. I clipped each end, and then I bent those ends inward so that they would create a sort of bridge right at the center of the ring. I added a drop of resin to the back of my heart, and then I held the ring in place using my light to cure it. I slid the ring onto a rolled up silicone pad, then I filled the gap between the 2 wires with a small drop of resin. I lined up some rhinestone chain in the gap, and then I cured it in place. I kept doing this all around the ring until the entire gap was filled with the rhinestone chain. And if you decide this process, absolutely make sure that you're using very thin layers and that you're moving really quickly. If you don't have rhinestone chain, you can also fill the gap with glitter, metal chain, or you could just leave it open for a nice minimalistic look. Now I still had a few of the hearts left, so I used some resin to attach them to 2 cabochons I'd made previously, and then I coated them with a fresh layer of resin to make everything nice and shiny. I added these 2 cabochons to a pair of earrings, just using a couple of jump rings, and look how cute they are. Oh my gosh, this whole collection turned out so cute. It's perfect for Valentine's Day, but it doesn't have to be just for Valentine's Day, so you could really wear this all year long. Now, I really hope that this inspires you to try something new today. It was a lot of fun to make. Thank you so much for joining me. Go make something awesome today, and as always, stay rad. If you enjoyed this project, be sure to check out my resin tutorial playlist.